Hey guys, it's Tiffany, and I am so excited to offer you this free course on how to read the tarot, or tarot, depending on how you say it. I'm with wiseskiescollective.com, and we've got some good resources for you over there. I am your guide today, and if you have a deck that you want to use in this class, please go ahead and divide it into two different stacks. One stack with the major arcana and the second stack with the minor arcana. If in your major arcana, you'll go 0 through 22, and in your minor arcana, you'll sort it by the suit, and then in each suit, you'll go ace through king. And make sure to download the free handout that we've got here. So you're in the right place here. If you're brand new to tarot and you have no idea, all hearts are welcome here. Even if you're experienced in tarot and you just want to get a different take or some fresh perspective, you're in the right place if you've got questions and maybe you're getting in the way of your own answers and you just want to learn more about how the tarot could help you. Or maybe you just want to read cards for yourself or other people. So let's go ahead and get started. The tarot cards, guys, they're a deck of 78 playing cards. I say they're invented in Italy, but really nobody knows. It's very mysterious, all of the playing cards from the 1430s. It's divided into 22 major arcana cards. The major arcana are the core issues, the major karmic situations, that really signify something deep going on in your life. And the 56 minor arcana cards are more of the day-to-day advice, more of the stuff that's just kind of going on in the present moment. They're not necessarily the deep underpinnings of what's happening, right? In the minor arcana, there are 4 suits. There are swords, cups, wands, and pentacles, or coins, or discs, depending on how you want to call them. And also in the minor arcana, they go ace through 10, and then there are 4 court cards that go page, knight, queen, and king. And we're going to get into the nitty and gritty of that a little bit later, but this is just a basic overview. I wanted to put in a quote from my friend Deborah and teacher, who is the author of the Tarot Primer, a book that I highly recommend you get. It's one of the best resources that I've found. And she has this great quote in the book. She says, everybody needs an oracle of some kind at some point, right? So sometimes we just need this new perspective. Our unconscious already knows the answer, but sometimes we just get in our own way. We can't access it easily. And so tarot cards are that access point that help us even develop our intuition. And it just provides some practical, tangible advice. The pictures are what help us, I guess, understand. This artistic reflection helps us gives us a new take on things. And so a lot of the decks are very different, right? And so I like for you to start with a traditional tarot deck. I like to recommend here this Golden Tarot by Cat Black, or even the Tarot of Mystical Moments is a nice non-traditional deck. The Rider Waite, of course, is a good deck. But if you just start with kind of the basics, because the art does mean something. Rachel Pollack goes through this in her books, 78 Degrees of Wisdom. And then, of course, there's Deborah's book, The Tarot Primer. So starting with a basic deck that isn't quite so woo-woo or out there or has just deviated from the original tarot, I find to be useful. Now, if you haven't got your handout yet, here you can get it at wiseskiescollective.com on the freebies page. It looks a little bit like that, and it has a lot of great notes for you so that you don't have to, be taking notes as we're going through it. And, the class outline, we just talked about what tarot is. We're going to go through the major arcana together, the minor, and then we're going to talk about spreads a little bit. If you've got some goals, this is a great time to just sketch them down on the side. Maybe you want to just be introduced to the cards. Maybe you want to get confidence in your cards. Maybe you want to learn how to read as a professional, right? So writing down some goals before you get going can be really useful. And a little bit more about me. I'm the owner of Wise Skies Collective. I have a master's in health psychology. I founded Spellbound Publishing Company, Spellbound Publishers. My background is in large event management. I'm a best-selling cookbook author, and I love natural beekeeping and organic gardening. So I am most of the time outside when possible. And I put that little icon there to remind myself to ask you to please like and subscribe. And this is the main reason I am giving this class away for free on YouTube, is to help increase our audience. So if you would please like the video and subscribe to the channel, I would really appreciate it. All right, so in terms of the major arcana, that's where we're going to start today. The major arcana correspond to 22 of the Hebrew alphabet that are shown in the Tree of Life. Interesting, right? And you can separate your major arcana either into 2 stacks or into 3 stacks. I typically like the 2 stack because it makes the Wheel of Fortune the halfway point. But for class today, I have us separating into 3 stacks. You don't have to change what you've already separated if you have them separated already, but just mentally, we're going to look at it like this. The 7 in symbolism, there's 7 planets, 7 days of the week. There's lots of sevens throughout that have very symbolic meanings. And I just wanted to point that out. If we're going to separate into sevens, we would take the 0, the Fool card out first. And this is where we just begin the journey of looking at the meanings of the cards. So each of the cards that you have are going to have their own kind of a booklet with meanings, and you can use those, you can rely on them, but ultimately you're going to program these cards for you to know what they mean. And one way that you can do this is to have a deck that you just use for learning purposes and get a Sharpie and write on it. Write on the card what you feel that this card means. You can do it intuitively. You can look at what the booklet means, or you can take the meanings that I'm sharing with you today. Again, this is just my personal perspective and my practice, my experience over time. So take what you want, of course, and leave the rest. The Fool card, I absolutely love. It's one of my favorite cards in the whole deck. This is when you get to leap without looking. This is the card of the free spirit that is marching to the beat of their own drum. They were born under a different star. It is time to take a chance, right? And yes, guys, I am going to talk about reversals a little bit later. So if the Fool card was reversed, we might be being foolish, right? We might be being a little too naive. But, here in the beginning, let's just look at them, what they are upright, right? And the Fool is about going on a journey, stepping out into the world with hope and faith. I like to personalize the cards with stories too, so you can use your own stories, and that's going to help you understand them better. But to give you an example, I had a job for a long time that was not a good fit, and I finally my dad said, maybe you should quit. And I didn't think about it. I just went in the next day and I quit. And that was the impetus for me starting my cookbook series. So I didn't have a plan. I probably didn't even have rent money at that point. I just quit, right? That's the Fool card. It's like, oh, well, I'm on my next journey and I'm not looking back, right? And things happened for me, right? It's like jumping out of the building and growing wings on your way down. That's the energy of the Fool card. So if we separate the Fool card, that gives us 3 groups of 7. The first group is really about the external experience, the world outside of you, and consciousness, what we can understand. The first card is the Magician. As above, so below. You can see that he's got one hand up, one hand going down, representing as I think, so shall it be down here, creating heaven on earth. As above, so below. I'm consciously creating something. This is a card of manifestation. It's a reminder to work your magic. And you can see that he has everything he needs there. You have all the resources you need to accomplish whatever it is that you're seeking. You don't need to go anywhere else. You've got everything that you need. This is about turning water into wine and lead into gold. And you can see that he's got that figure 8 symbology above his head, indicating there's an infinite amount of resources. There's infinity in mind. Okay. The High Priestess, to me, this is a card of intuition, the divine feminine, and the mystery schools. If you're looking for information about relationships and you get the High Priestess card, this is not a card where there are 2 people, right? This is a card with one person, and she really just needs some alone time, tapping into what her gut instincts are, but also really studying the mysteries of life. And sometimes this is best done in nature, but there's a privacy to this card. There's something that's going on between you and God, you and your creator, and it's a learning thing. It's also a bit of a feminine power card too, but that's how I interpret it. The third card is the Empress. This is all about your creativity, your fertility, pregnancies. Of course, birthing things doesn't have to be actual babies, but it can be. If you're doing readings, you know the Empress card can indicate actual pregnancy. It can also indicate that you are cooking something in the oven, meaning that like you've got a project that's baking. It's not quite ready to launch yet. It's on its way. This can be a card of mothering. It can be a card of Mother Nature, and a card that really is about that springtime, Ostara, things are blossoming, and just really the whole goal of nature is reproduction, right? And the Empress card reminds us of all of that creative force inside. Okay, the emperor would then be the more of the divine masculine. This represents our authority figures, places or people that we have given our power to, including our dads, sometimes our bosses, our jobs, our the corporate machine. This is a card of self mastery where you get to be your own boss, where you're leading your own life, where you can take charge of things. Right? So it can, depending on what cards are before and after it, can take on some different meanings. Now, the fifth card in the deck is the Hierophant. And in traditional tarot, this was represented by the Pope. Things that you're devoted to, things that you're looking for a traditional or more conservative approach, an area where you might benefit from some conformity, spiritual guidance. And Deborah teaches that this card means a marriage, people coming together in front of the priest or priestess, so to speak, devoting their lives traditionally to each other. So marriage can be indicated with this card too. Now, a lot of people will look to the lovers for marriage, right? So the sixth card here in Old Tarot was a choice. It just meant a choice to be made. It didn't necessarily mean a relationship. We have modified it over time to mean a significant relationship. This is a path to love, not the pathy to love. We can do that though. The pathy to love. This is a sacred union, right? The coming together of two people by choice. This is a love you choose, not a love or a relationship that's forced upon you. So, a couple of different interpretations there, but this is your significant other. It doesn't necessarily, I don't look at this card and think about like sisters or other or like coworkers. It's not like any relationship, it's that close, loving bond, that one that you choose, your soulmate. The seventh card is the Chariot. This is one of the cards in the deck that indicates a win, a yes, a things are moving forward. It can indicate a car, a vehicle, right? Like a move, a trip, something kind of short. It can be victory through collaboration. This is important because the Chariot in a lot of decks has horses pulling it. In this Golden Tarot card, it has swans pulling it. You'll see the symbology. There's black and white on purpose. There are certain letters and certain buildings and certain animals on purpose, and you can really deep dive into it. One of the surface level, I guess, symbols is that there's an animal helping pull the chariot forward. This is about cooperation and collaboration. They're not just going to go for you, right? There has to be some direction on your part, but there has to be a win-win relationship. You have to do a little bit of horse whispering, right? There has to be mutual love and respect with a similar goal. And then it's a moving forward card. Okay, now we're into the second group of the 7 cards. We're in cards 8 through 14. This is about the subconscious. This is what's below the surface, turning within and learning something about yourself. The 8th card is strength. This is about your inner strength. This is about courage and strength of character. And really, it's about perseverance too. You can see in most of the decks, there's a woman who's holding a lion in her lap. This is about kind of whispering her way. She's not scared. She's having great courage. She is brave here, but she's kind of like helping coerce isn't the right word, but she's helping the lion to be calm, and she's directing all of the emotions, and she's directing all of the energy in a calm and peaceful way, right? She's taming the lion essentially. You can notice that she too has that figure 8 symbol above her head, just like the magician, as above so below, right? So if my inner world is calm, so is my outer world, right? So what's going on at the inner levels? Where do I need to persevere? Where am I having to come up with great strength in the face of adversity, right? All right. The ninth card is the Hermit, right? This is definitely about needing some alone time, This is not a card of being social or with other people or collaboration. This is about being true to yourself. And sometimes we can't be true to ourselves when we are in the presence of other people for any number of reasons. We just get influenced or we start people pleasing. The Hermit wants us to contemplate, wants us to really trust ourselves, wants us to reflect. There's a subconscious knowing that you can access with the Hermit card. Again, if you're looking for relationship advice and you get the Hermit card, it's like, ooh, not right now. Maybe that's not your favorite card to get, but it does mean that, it's like you've got to be true to yourself first. And so getting internal clarity through some alone time. The Hermit goes into the woods alone and he brings back the lantern. The light is on when he comes back. He's connected. The Hermit knows who he is. He's even supported by the natural kingdom. All right, the 10 is the wheel of fortune, right? This is about rolling the dice and taking a chance. And what goes up must come down, and oppositely, what goes down must come up, right? Luck is faded here. There can be a feeling like you're being tossed around, that you're being upended, that there's some upheaval, that things are going in circles. But just know that the wheel of fortune turns, right? So wherever you are, there's an opposite side that you're headed to, usually, right? This card, when I get it, I think about just the energy of rolling the dice. It doesn't matter. You might not even make it. It's not the energy of do this to complete this thing. It's the energy of take a chance on yourself. Who knows what's going to happen on the journey? If you fall down, no big deal. Maybe it was more about who you met than about doing the thing. Maybe it was more about the conversation you had and the connection that you made instead of the actual task that you were hoping to achieve. So rolling the dice, again, doesn't guarantee that it's going to go well. It just means that you've got to practice that muscle of taking a chance on yourself. The 11 card is justice. All right, this is about our internal justice system. I talk about it as the karma boomerang. You can see in a lot of the decks, there's a little white angel and the little uh, like devil angel. How do you say that on the other side? And so this is about trying to balance the internal justice system, doing what's right, doing what's fair, taking personal responsibility for the way we feel, the world we've created, and how we react. I had a mentor one time say, honey, if it's on your plate, you ordered it. That's really the justice card. What's in front of you, you had a part in creating. And so the good news is, if you're the common denominator, you're the solution too, right? So you can shift things. This card comes up with social justice, restorative justice, issues with like the legal system, issues with anything going on in court documents, things like this. The justice card can come up too. Just remember that we are really on the path of personal responsibility and integrity. If you don't know what your standards of integrity are, a quick exercise is that you can list maybe 5 to 10 people, your favorite people, living or dead, people you really look up to, really admire. Write down all of the characteristics or character traits that you love about them, and then use those as your pillars, your standards of integrity, something you can measure yourself against in times of trouble or adversity. All right, the 12, the Hanged Man, one of my favorite cards too, because it's so clear. The answer is to do nothing right now. The answer is that everything's happening for a reason, so you're going to pause. You're not going to change or do anything or make any moves. You're not even going slowly. You're doing nothing. You're in the place of acceptance. You're in a place of surrendering and trusting. Sometimes people will say, like, oh, this is about getting a different perspective, right? You're upside down. You're looking at things upside down. So this is a card about pausing and doing nothing. If it was reversed, I might say something different, but it's not here. We're just staying right here where the answer to the Hanged Man is there's nothing to do. There's nothing more to do. There's nothing you can do. God's got it. It's in higher powers' hands. The 13 card is the Death card, and this is about endings and finding closure, something coming full circle, something that needs a sense of completion. It can indicate an actual death. I know a lot of people are like, oh, no, the Death card doesn't mean death, but it can. It can mean an actual death. We as readers don't portend death. So please don't do that for people. Please don't scare people. We can't ever really know that. But the idea here is that maybe you're reading for somebody who just had a loved one pass away, and that is a powerful reminder that they're with them. You have all these cards in front of you and that's the card you pull, that can be very impactful. So don't deny that it can mean an actual death. Just don't try to predict it for somebody. This card is a reminder that life is short, that we're here for a good time, not a long time, and also a reminder that there are more death cards, more ending cards in tarot than there are new beginnings, and that each death, each ending brings a new life, always, 100% of the time. The 14 card is Temperance. This is about moderation in all things. This is about reeling something in. A lot of times in my practice, I'll get this when people are overdoing everything, or they're overdoing one area and it's causing everything to be out of balance. So this is a time when, if you have been overdoing it in any area, eating, drinking, working, thinking, sleeping, doing, committing, right? This is time to be more moderate, more having temperance, reeling it in. Now, this third group of the major arcana is 15 through 21. This is about the super consciousness, our spiritual awareness, and the universal forces. We start with 15, the devil. In my practice, I see that this is where people are really overcoming serious demons. This is obsessive thinking. If I'm honest, it's usually about sex, deep human bonds, or money, things like taxes, or things that feel overwhelming, things that feel like big debt, things that feel like something is out of control, out of your hands, and it's just haunting you, keeping you up at night, right? We don't want to predict that for someone. We want to mention to them, you're overcoming this, you've got this. The devil backwards is lived. You're living through this. These are your lived experiences. You never know how your experiences, you can use them as your experience, strength, and hope for somebody else in the future going through the same thing. That's not to say you're going to set yourself up for failure. It's just going to say that this time isn't wasted. That the devil helps you see what you do need to overcome, what might be something that is just time to give over to the creator. The 16 is the Tower card. This is kind of like Uranus in astrology. This is about shock and awe and big change, sudden change, disasters that shake things loose. It means that the foundation is kind of rocky. There needs to be a do-over. Things need to crumble and be torn down. Maybe you started a business with somebody and it's time to split up, and you need to have that new birth date for that business. You need to give it a new birth chart for that business. You need to do a new checking account for that business, right? It's okay to have the Tower card. It's usually uncomfortable. It's usually shocking and disturbing. But it can also just be changes happening really quickly. That doesn't have to be bad. You might have had something on your mind for years and years and years, and boom, all of a sudden you decide to do it. That's very Tower feeling. It's very revolting. It's very like, oh, all right, I'm just moving in this direction now. I've had enough. I know when enough is enough, and boom, I'm doing it over. I'm starting over fresh. I'm painting the wall black instead of white. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of a thing. The 17 card is the star. This is about being the star of your own life, shining your light, but it's also the water bearer. And so in traditional tarot, there's usually a woman holding two canisters of water. And that reminds us that she is bringing life sustaining substance and resources to others. She's not just hoarding that water. She's like, hey, I filled my cup. Let me help fill yours too. This is about volunteering and service work. It's about shining your own light in a way that feeds others too, being the star. Now we're getting into the celestial bodies. 18 is the moon card. This is about usually things that we can't see. So if you're asking a question, or if you're asking a naughty question, if you're being kind of bad and you're asking a question that we might not should answer, sometimes spirit will give you the moon card. It's like, we don't need to know that answer right now. Something's hidden for a reason. More will be revealed later. Another meaning for the moon card is fear, the distortion of fear, delusion, deception. It can mean the unknown mystery. It just, to me, means things we can't know right now. I don't put a lot of good or bad to it in my readings. And then next we get the sun card, 19. This is a yes card. This is about positivity, vitality, health. This is an active card, energized card. This is where you can make hay while the sun shines, make the most of opportunities that are in front of you. It's a new day. You can find hope and motivation, and it's time to reach for opportunities, to say yes to what's in front of you. Now we've got the Judgment card, 20. This card in Old Tarot is often represented with Jesus coming out of the tomb. It represents rebirth. It represents a death and rebirth process. There's a more meaningful existence, than available, I would say. This is about karmic returns. And a lot of the old, I guess, teachings will say, are you ready to face your maker? Are you ready to stand in judgment? Is there some amends that you need to make? Do you need to clear your soul or your karma, make apologies, get things right with people? Facing the music for your actions, right? And then last but not least, another one of my favorites is the World card. This is complete integration. This is the last card of the major arcana. We've been through the Fool's journey and we come out on top of the world. This is a reminder that one person can make the world a better place. You can make a difference. Something in your life or a major part of your life is coming full circle and wrapping up. There's a freedom to this, a rapture to this. You're excited. This is a happy card, and it's a card of fulfillment and peace. Um, the World card, I guess it can be like an initiation, a graduation is another way that you could look at it. It's really completing one cycle and going on to the next, understanding things from all the different angles. Okay, I had a thought that left me. Maybe it'll come back. All right, I put together this little grid. If you wanted to take a screenshot, this is just a fun, um, journal exercise, homework activity. You can see I separated the Fool card out and I put them into the 3 sets of 7. And we looked at them as 1 through 7, 8 through 14, and then 15 through 21. But you could also go down and see what 1, 8, and 15 have in common, 2, 9, and 16 have in common, right? 3, 10, and 17 have in common. And this could just be a way for you to understand the cards and explore and play with them even more. I don't have an answer, I don't have the answers. This is just an exploratory thing. There's no right or wrong way to interpret that. So I mentioned that we would talk about reversals, and I wanted to do that briefly before we jump into the major arcana. This is really up to the reader. So you get to decide if you want to read reversals at all. You don't have to. And if you do want to, how you want to interpret them. A lot of time I will give reversals the opposite meaning of what the upright meaning is, but it can also mean that the person is having some internalized situation going on. They're in their own way. They're facing some resistance. There's a blockage or a delay to the energy of the card. So you get to decide if and how you want to read reversals, and it just takes practice. If you're taking me up on the idea to kind of ruin a deck by like Sharpie writing all over it, you could write the upright meaning on one side and the reversal meaning on the other side. All right. Getting into the minor arcana, there are 4 suits here: the wands, the cups, the swords, and the pentacles. The pentacles are also called coins, discs, right? They're the earth. Oh my gosh, I forgot the parentheses. I knew I was going to do something like that. So, wands, fire; cups, water; swords, air; and the coins are the earth. In the minor arcana, these are 56 cards. They are divided into 4 suits of 14 cards each. These are the lesser secrets, not the major secrets, not the major arcana. Not the major arcana trump everything that's going on, so they have more pull, more weight, more meaning. But the minor arcana generally just describe things going on in your everyday life. These are key situations that you're dealing right now, but they are temporary, right? They're not shattering. In the wands, so if you don't want to memorize anything, or you're just brand new and you're just looking at the suit, you can get information. Let's say that you have like any number of the wands, it's going to still have this undertone, this fire energy under it. So if you get, like, let's say you do a reading and there's 8 cards in your reading and 6 of them are wands, and 2 of them are something else, that the majority of the energy behind this reading or this spread is this fiery, action oriented energy. So even if you just know what the suits mean, you can still do a great reading. The wands are about action, taking action, doing something, moving. This is where we have our impulses. This is where we're ready to take risks. We're confident. This is yang primal energy. It's where we're creative. It's where we're passionate. It's where we're excited, we're enthusiastic, we're ready to go on an adventure. Wands energy, right? The cups are the watery emotional suit, right? So this is where we experience deep emotions, our spiritual experiences. We go through our inner states, our emotional world, the world of our feelings. The cups are where we look for our relationship patterns, our love life. They represent a certain purification, receptivity, creativity in a different way, right? And romance and yin. So if wands are yang, cups are yin, if you know what I mean. Swords are represent the air, and this is our thought worlds, our intellect, are the way we communicate, the way we understand, the way we reason and logic through things. It represents the mind in some ways, our perspective, the way we perceive things. Swords can also be about justice and truth. This is on the bad side of swords. This is where we can get into analysis paralysis. Sometimes the mind really can get in the way, right? But there can be a lot of discord with the swords too. So depending on what the other cards are in the reading, maybe there's discord or harsh words or difficulties and some unseen winds of change. The swords represent our ethics, where we really need to speak our truth and be honest. And so think about it that way too. The coins, this is the pentacles or the earth suit, the discs. This represents money, and a lot of readers will say, well, it's not just all about money. This is not just our worth, but our self-worth and what our resources mean. Because so many times people are coming to a tarot reader to look at issues around career or work, the coins is where you can look for that. The coins is where we need to be earthy, practical. There's a certain fertility to the coins. There's a natural world, a natural element. It's where we look for security, stability, the material world. This is when we're working with matter, not spirit, but stuff here on the earthly plane. The beauty of nature, our interactions with plants and animals, and our physical experiences in the body. This is where we can look for prosperity, wealth, and markets, exchanging goods and services. So we're going to go through the minor arcana 1 through 10. So you can be looking at your different piles of cards, and if you want to pull out your aces first, the ones, the aces is a fresh new start, something new, an opening. The aces are all positive. It's one of the best cards in its suit. It represents new beginnings, opportunities, potential, where we are inspired in life. The Ace of Wands is really about doing something different, taking new action. If you always go out of the driveway and turn right, maybe you're going to go out of the driveway and turn left. This is about doing something differently than you've done it before. You've got the power and energy to do that. The Ace of Cups is great, especially with relationships, because it feels like you're filling your cup. There's opportunity for new love, a new romance is on the way. This can be a reconnection to falling in love with your own life and love with yourself, of course, too. The Ace of Swords is when we need a new perspective. We've got a new idea. The Ace of Discs, this can be a new job. This can be a new stream of income, a new opportunity to get solid and grounded. The twos are usually about choices, right? So if you've got a two and it's a wand, you're kind of up against a wall and yearning against something else. You've got the world in your hands and still you yearn. The Two of Cups, this is about relationship balance. This is a positive relationship card. And then the Two of Swords, this is a decision that comes at a cost. So feeling really backed up, not really sure which way to go, feeling kind of like you're darned if you do and darned if you don't in some ways. But this can be a difficult decision. And so you want to address that with yourself and with people that you're reading for with a lot of compassion. Oh, I see that either you're recently having to make a difficult decision and my heart goes out to you. Maybe we can get some clarity on that today, right? And then the Two of Discs is about juggling money. It can be a couple of different options. It can be using a little credit to save a little. It can be like creative financing in a way. You know what I mean? But this is about a choice around money as well. The threes are our creative number. There's a flowering. Something is created from the energy of the suit. 1 + 2 = 3. The Three of Wands is about travel, going somewhere, setting off on a new adventure, taking a new philosophy, learning how to cook something different that's foreign and overseas. The Three of Wands is about going somewhere, doing something. The Three of Cups, this can be three people in love. This can be uncomfortable. This can be too many cooks in the kitchen. This can be a triangulation of energy where it's just not quite comfortable. This can be when somebody's cheating on someone. This can be when there's drunken, high fives and fertility and all of the things that can happen with when there's three people in a relationship. This can work in your favor sometimes too. It could be indicate that there's a new baby on the way. It could indicate that you've adopted a pet with your roommate. There's three energies going on, but usually somebody feels left out. And so I want to acknowledge that. The Three of Swords is a broken heart. So again, being most compassionate when you're interpreting these cards, that this is somebody that's really gone through a difficult time, that is just in a really having a difficult time with a broken heart. The Three of Discs or coins is this is when we're doing our most masterful creative work. This guy is not just building a basic 4-pane window. We're working on the most creative stained glass window at the top of Notre Dame Church. You know what I mean? It's like the most elegant, intricate way to use all of your smarts and creative energy to build something masterful and beautiful. The Three of Discs, masterful work. The fours are about structure and discipline and stability. The Four of Wands is described as the celebration after marriage. That feeling of success and completion and a house is united. But it can also be any celebration, right? Any celebration. The Four of Cups is when we're apathetic. There's 4 cups full, there's 3 in the ground in front of you, and even the angel of God is coming to bring you a full cup, and you just got your arms crossed and are slumped against a tree, and just you're hard to reach. You're very apathetic, you just don't care, you've forgotten your gratitude in some way. And so it's a reminder to be grateful too. The Four of Swords is about taking a rest, giving it a rest, relaxing, mentally, physically, spiritually. Downtime is not wasted time. And then we've got the Four of Discs, which can come across as control. This is kind of the Ebenezer Scrooge card where we're holding on too tightly, and we're not. Maybe this is a good time for you to tithe or to give back or to volunteer, because it feels like something is that you're trying to control. You lose hold of. Um, Now, in the fives, these represent life's difficulties. So the fives aren't necessarily our favorite ones to get, but the Five of Wands indicates like an internal struggle. It's like you're really having a hard time finding resolution. You feel like no, it's a fight not worth having because nobody wins. So keep that in mind. The Five of Cups is about grief and sorrow. There's 2 cups are still full, but we're more worried and sad about the 3 that have spilled over. Another reminder for gratitude for what we have instead of grief for what we've lost. This isn't to say to not go through your grief process. You should go through your grief process and feel the depths of all that you need to feel. But just this card tends to be an acknowledgement of grief and a reminder that there are still some things to be thankful for. The Five of Swords, this is a defeat. Feels like a loss. It feels like somebody's got an unfair advantage. It doesn't feel fair, and it just gets our nerves a little bit. And then the Five of Discs, this is when we feel like we're not enough, that we don't have enough. This kind of poverty consciousness, and of course, you want to shift that, right? Like we don't want to linger there. We just want to acknowledge what is and heal where we can. And the sixes, these are about relationships. But they're usually unequal relationships. Uh, this may or may not make sense, right? The Six of Wands, the relationship here is that you've won. You are in the victorious position versus the other party. The Six of Wands is about moving forward. It's yes, it's a win. It's a momentum card. It's a positive feeling. It's a feeling of support and victory. The Six of Cups, this is a blast from the past, nostalgia, looking back, connecting with somebody from your youth. This could be somebody you grew up down the street from, or cousins that you used to spend summers with, or a high school reunion, or something like this. This is about looking back to fonder and simpler times. So there could be a call for more simplicity or more innocence, right? The Six of Swords is when we need to change our perspective. I told you guys in the beginning that it's good to have some stories to go with your cards. So one of my stories with the Six of Swords is, she's looking down and to the bottom and the right, the waves are there and she's upset and she's got her kid with her and she's not sure where they're going and it's icy water ahead. But the guy behind her is he's like all systems go. He's saying yes, go forward. So there can be some mixed messages. And that's why we need to change our perspective with the Six of Swords. There's part of you that's looking down and to the right and is not sure. And there's part of you that's looking forward and saying, go. My personal story is with horses. And so when you're riding horses and you've got your sit bones straight and you're looking straight ahead and your calf muscles are touching the belly of the horse is going to go straight. But if you look down and to the right, your left leg is going to drop a little bit behind you more. The rotation of the sit bones are going to indicate to the horse, oh, she wants me to go to the right. But you never said go right. You just looked downward, right? So you're like, hey, horse, I said go straight. But the horse is like, no, you said go right. And that's kind of how the universe is taking it when you get that Six of Swords. You're saying do this, not this, but it's that you're sending mixed messages. So where could you change your perspective and get fully in alignment with where it is that you want to go? The Six of Discs are about generosity. Sometimes this can be a loan, it can be an inheritance, it can be a gift. You could be the one needing to give it. This could be like, hey, I want you to be generous with somebody, or hey, I want you to be brave enough to ask for some generosity. Now, with the sevens are about some kind of action. The Seven of Wands, it feels like me against the world. It can feel really lonely. You can feel tired. You can feel like nobody's helping me. And so this card can indicate maybe it's time to ask for some help or to put down and delegate some of the duties that you've got, to really put down an area where you are defensive. If you are fixing, arguing, defending, and explaining, it can really put you against other people too. So maybe there's a time for you to be able to look for similarities instead of differences. The Seven of Cups is when we tend to have too many choices. When we have a lot of options, that can be very freeing for some people. It can be like, oh my gosh, I've got all the options in the world. It's going to be great. But sometimes it's that analysis paralysis. I've got so many options, I don't know what I want to do. Well, who am I going to be when I grow up? What kind of life am I going to live? Like that can be really overwhelming. Well, especially when you could be anything, right? So there's a couple of different ways to look at that card. The Seven of Swords is one of our least favorite cards in the whole deck. It tends to indicate dishonesty, but it can also indicate a lack of safety. This is when I tell people, go ahead and change your passwords, make sure that everything feels like it's protected. If you're using cameras, make sure those are on, make sure the doors are locked, that you're hiding your stuff out of sight, like stuff like that. There just feels like there's a thief amidst, around. I don't want to scare people, but I really have that experience with that card. The Seven of Discs, this is about patience and faith. You've planted the seeds and you can't just make the sun come up. You know what I mean? You can't just make the rain fall. You've planted the seeds and you have to trust that the natural world, the creation, the creator energy is going to take care of it, and that you are patiently waiting in faith that all is going well. You've done what you can. Now we're into the eights. The eights are associated with movement. The Eight of Wands is one of the only cards in the deck that's about timing, and it indicates a swiftness. Things are happening quickly. Things are happening fast. The Eight of Cups is a very clear card that says walk away and don't look back. Depending on what deck you have, like the mystical moments one that I was talking about in the beginning, it looks a lot cooler than walk away and don't look back. It looks like she's going on this magical path forward. There's things in front of her that are interesting. So walking away and not looking back can indicate that it's time to leave a situation where you didn't know when enough was enough, right? But it can also indicate, man, there's something better out there for you. Just keep going. Just keep swimming. The Eight of Swords, this is when we put ourselves in a prison of our own making. We've all been there. We've all done that. And we know when we're doing it too, right? So if you feeling stuck, remembering that you are the common denominator, you're responsible for that feeling, and that means that you're the solution and that there is a way out of it. This person can untie their hands, remove the blindfold, get out of the swords just fine. They're just feeling stuck and staying there. Now, the Eight of Discs, this is about steady work, chopping wood, carrying water, being an apprentice, having a beginner's mind, being willing to go put in the hours, being steady about it. All right, nothing erratic there. Now, on the nines, these are a card of intensity. We're going from 1 all the way to 10, and we're gaining in intensity. The Nine of Wands is when we're just about to take on too much. We've got a lot on our plate, and we go ahead and take on extra, and then we feel overwhelmed and exhausted, right? The Nine of Wands is just like that feeling of like, I just got a lot going on right now. Can't catch a breath in some ways. The Nine of Cups, this is your wishes coming true. This is you get your wish. So be very, very careful what you wish for. The Nine of Swords is about our anxieties, things that keep us up at night, worrying. And so there might be a time to address some fears or anxieties or things that are stimulating, right? The swords, the mental world, in a way that feels very cutting and difficult. So addressing some of those fears or deceptions or delusionments, places that you've been maybe dishonest with yourself or others. The Nine of Discs or coins, this is about being self sufficient. This is a very important, I think, tenet for us all to be self sufficient. This doesn't mean exclusively self sufficient, it means that you're able to stand on your own 2 feet. And so, if you've been in a position where you've been borrowing or you've been mooching or you've been whatever, the Nine of Discs is like, no, you got this. You got this on your own, and there's a way for you to do that. This is also kind of a card of luxury, right? And so there can be sometimes some guilt associated with this card. It's like, wow, I get to live this great life based on the shoulders of the giants who came before me, right? So there's some of that too. So this is enjoying the finer things in life, right? The art, the world of art, you can't really enjoy that if you're getting by. You know what I mean? So lots of meanings for that card. And then the tens, the fulfillment, the endings, the completions. We made it to the end of the suit. The Ten of Wands is we've taken on too much completely. The Nine of Wands gave us the warning, and then the Ten of Wands, we just can't get out of it, you know? And some cycles of life are like that. Some cycles of life are just really heavy, and you're just doing a lot, or there's a lot of activity, and you can't help it. But if you can, then the Ten of Wands can remind you it's okay to ask for help and delegate and put some things down. Don't do this to the point of exhaustion, right? The Ten of Cups, this is the happy marriage, the happy family, one of the best cards in the deck. A sense of full love, fulfillment, relationship satisfaction feels really, really good. The Ten of Swords, I like to tell people the worst is over because it feels like you've just gone through the ringer, right? So you don't want to tell somebody you're going through the ringer. They already know that. You want to tell them the worst is over. You have made it. You know, you've made it to today, and all you have to do is 1 hour at a time. All you have to do is just the next thing. You just do the next thing slowly. You don't have to do the next thing right. You just have to do the next right thing. It's going to be okay. The Ten of Discs, this is the wealth card. This is ultimate abundance, prosperity, money, 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 you know, feels good. All right. Now, we're kind of at the end of the cards here. The minor arcana also have these suit cards, the pages, the suit. What am I saying? The court cards, the pages, the knights, the queens, and the kings. They typically show up as people that you know. So the pages would be somebody younger than you. The knights would be kind of a male figure in the young realm. I know that some of the newer age cards have like princesses and other things too. So the knights doesn't have to be male or female. It's just kind of a more youthful age. And then the queen and kings are people that are in their maturity, their mastery, their best self. They're typically older and wiser. The pages tend to hold messages. They're the messengers. They can come across as texts or ideas. The Page of Wands, the message is to take action on something. The Page of Cups is to receive love. And if you think about these again as people, the Page of Wands, this is a kid in the room that is just spinning and going all like this is the dog that has the zoomies. You know what I mean? The Page of Cups, this is like the more emotional child that is great at art, right? That loves songs, stuff like this. The Page of Swords, this could be a message for new perspective, but if you're looking at it as somebody in your life, who might that Page of Swords be? Somebody that's really smart, concise, was reading early, stuff like that. The Page of Discs, this is when opportunity knocks, you know. Who might that young little entrepreneur in your life be? On the Knights, I use the word immature energy. I don't mean that negatively. I just mean it's kind of like that greenhorn novice. Novice is the word I should have used. Energy. The Knight of Wands. This is somebody that's just on a quest, on a mission, out to get him. You know, very impulsive. The Knight of Cups. This is somebody who's really creative and musical and into the arts and film and needs to be nourished spiritually and feelings understood. Right, the Knight of Swords, this is when we're very ambitious, you know, and sometimes that ambition is great. When I was first starting to write my books earlier in my career, somebody said, you know, Tiffany's not going to fail because she doesn't know that that's an option. Very true, right? That's the Knight of Swords energy, very ambitious. The Knight of Discs, this is about being productive, being responsible. Slow and steady wins the race, very Taurus type energy. And then we've got the queens when we're in our divine feminine. The Queen of Wands is somebody that's very confident, that's very sporty, that's always on the go. I was taught that it's important to identify yourself in the court cards, and I identify myself as the Queen of Wands. And so when that one pops out, I tend to think that the reading is like directed at me in some way, or I'm represented in the reading somehow. The Queen of Cups, this is somebody who's very compassionate, who has mastered her emotions, is a great counselor, the type of person that you tell your life story to. The Queen of Swords, this is somebody that is very direct. It's known as the mother in law card. Maybe not the best way to say that in modern times, right? But the Queen of Swords is very honest, direct, and can be sharp tongued sometimes, but it's very dry. It's like, don't take it personal, right? The Queen of Discs, this is somebody who's very accomplished. This is somebody who you walk into their home and you can smell that they've been slow cooking the food all day and it just feels like home and everything's fresh and clean and organized and they're on top of it and you can relax, you can settle in. The inner child just feels safe. You know what I mean? That Queen of Discs, like, yum, delicious. Now, the King energy, this is our divine masculine energy. The King of Wands, this is somebody who is taking leadership and taking action. The King of Cups is somebody who's very diplomatic or a need to be diplomatic in a situation. The King of Swords is being very clear, honest, trustworthy. They're thinking clearly. You can trust their thoughts there. The King of Discs is about leading you forward into prosperity, leading you into abundance, being responsible financially, doing things like, you know, the wills and the taxes and the paperwork of finances to set the family up for success, right? Okay, we made it all the way through, so congratulations. And I want to talk a little bit about doing readings. Um, the main ethical point I want to point out is don't ask about other people. It's rude, it's not okay, and it's none of your business. And if you are looking for answers in other people, then the solution will always evade you. If you're looking for answers or information about other people, then they're out there. They're not in here. It means I'm never going to get right. I'm always going to feel bad, and it's going to take somebody else to make me feel better. And that's not the truth, right? The truth is that if I'm feeling bad, I'm responsible for that, and I need to look at myself, my own lessons, and stay on my own mat, right? So don't ask about other people. Don't let other people ask about other people either. If you've got a client or a friend that wants to know what somebody else is up to or how they're feeling about something, just don't go there. You know, just don't go there. Um, it puts you in a karmic bind. You don't want to be in it. So, doing readings, the first thing you want to do is check yourself, check your motivation, right? And then clear your deck. You can knock on the deck 3 times and say the words clear out loud or the word clear. You can shuffle your deck over and over. That clears the deck. You can use a selenite wand or just a piece of selenite. You can store it with your deck. You can rub it all over your deck. And you can put your cards in order by suit. That would be a very Virgo, cleanly, orderly way of clearing your deck. So those are some ideas for you. You'll find the one that feels best for you. Make sure that you've got a good question going. You know, here I've listed some good questions for you. What do I need to know about this situation? What action do I need to take? What's the energy if I do this thing versus what's the energy if I do that thing? and do a couple of spreads, right? What's my best attitude towards XYZ? What do the next couple of weeks look like? Where can I gain extra insight and wisdom about something? Again, don't ask about other people. Picking a spread, I just picked a few off the internet. I don't use these. These are things that you can do. Of course, the Celtic Cross is a very famous spread. Whatever deck you have, the little booklet with it will probably give you some spreads. I do my readings kind of more like a storytelling thing. So I just shuffle and shuffle and shuffle until I feel complete. I cut it 3 times, and then I go into flipping cards over, and I read it like a story arc, and I stop when I feel like the story is complete. I'm usually pulling 5 to 8 cards, sometimes more, sometimes less. If a card jumps out, I feel like it's very significant. The jumper card I look at and I read. A couple more best practices are to center yourself before and after you practice reading the cards. Um, how do you center yourself? You can do deep breathing. You can just clear your mind. You can close your eyes, drop your shoulders, begin inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. You can visualize yourself sitting in earth. You can put yourself in whatever visual temple you want. Maybe you're in the Himalayas in a beautiful cave. Maybe you're at the beach in a crystalline beachside setting. But you want to kind of ground yourself and get calm and still and center and clear before and after you practice, right? You don't want to kind of leave the psychic realm open all the time. So you want to use the same opening and closing prayer. This indicates to spirit what that you're ready to work, and that you're done working, so to speak. You can use any opening and closing prayer you want. May your actions and words be of service, basically, right? Like, and as long as you're in service, there's nothing to be nervous about. But if you use the same one and you use the same deck and you sit in the same place, there can be some kind of thing that clicks for you into place that kind of helps open, I guess, the pathways. You don't have to. These are just what ideas that I have for you. So another thing is, don't keep your cards by your bed. They are active. They have active energy, and sometimes they'll keep you up at night, so you don't want to put them like right by your bed where you're sleeping and trying to relax and trying to turn off. Um, and I just wanted to point out, it's okay to get tips for your service work if you're being of service and and you're just practicing and you don't know what you're talking about, but it moves someone and they're like, hey, I want to tip you, or I'd like to trade. That's okay to take that. I wouldn't charge right off the bat, for practicing. But if somebody offers, it's okay. It's okay to trade, and it's okay to be wrong. You can let them know, hey, take what you want and leave the rest. I'm practicing, and this is what I'm getting at this moment, and it's all subject to change, because why? You have free will, right? And the observer affects the experiment. So as I'm reading, I'm not reading from my point of view. I'm just reflecting what you already know back to you. I'm reading your consciousness field. I'm not reading my consciousness field. I'm reading your consciousness field through the filter of me, my lens, and my experience. And so, whatever the reading is, you're kind of off the hook, because that person or you have free will to do something different. And as you see it, it's like if you were going to flip the coin. Okay, do you guys want to go have Chinese food tonight or Mexican food tonight? And we flip the coin and it goes to Chinese food. And you're like, no, I wanted to have Mexican food, right? It doesn't mean that you have to then go eat the thing that you don't want to eat. It means that you used a tool to get clear, and sometimes it's seeing what we don't want in order to see what we do want. Um, when we're talking about spreads and practicing cards, it is a lot easier to do this in a live class. So I do invite you to join us on your journey. If you'd like to come to any of our classes, I'd love to work with you individually, coaching you as well. We offer Free Tarot Friday here on YouTube, and it goes out in our newsletter as well. I would love for you to be part of our newsletter. We link interesting articles and blogs and things that we found in the metaphysical world. It's not just a tarot company. Wise Skies is a metaphysical counseling company. We offer classes, one-on-one readings, and a beautiful membership. So please come to the membership. It's wiseskiescollective.com. We offer our members monthly readings that are unique through the Akashic Records. We offer human design training for our members. We offer Astro Tarot readings for our members, and then an individual class that is for members only. So there's lots of really good stuff that you can only access through that membership portal on the website. And I think that about does it. Please, if you're on any of the social media channels, please follow, like us, and subscribe, of course. We're really glad you're here. And we hope that this has been helpful for you in Tarot 101, just understanding a little bit about the tarot cards in a friendly way, knowing that really there's no mistakes. So you can't do it wrong. There's not a right way and a wrong way. You're just finding your practice and honing it. And so I'm going to go ahead and seal our class time today. And I look forward to seeing you either on the next class or at wiseskiescollective.com.